His enemies wondered if the Lich King's brutal death and unnatural rebirth had been his plan all along.
Nekusar the Mindrazer is a Grixis commander who commands the pain of your opponents as you force them into harming themselves through repeated and mandatory card draws. Our goal is simple. Our opponents love to draw cards, don't they? So let's let them draw as many cards as they'd like. But there is a price to pay. The deck is different from most decks in that it relies very little on creature strength, opting instead to focus on damaging the opponent with their card draws and our powerful burn effects. The best part of building this deck is that it is actually relatively budget friendly, with most of the improvements to this list coming from the mana base being improved, with more fetch lands, shock lands, the whole 9 yards. Let's get to our list, shall we? Let's start with the most important part of this deck, the draw engines. This deck can be categorized as a group slug style, which is a very passive deck that gives all players benefits, but instead of being benevolent in the giving of gifts, everything this deck does to help other players comes at a price. So our card draws, while benefiting the opponent, will benefit us more in the end. We have Vision Skeins, Howling Mine, Temple Bell, and Prosperity, which all lets players draw a few cards. Molten Psyche, Reforge the Soul, and Jace's Archivist reset hands whenever a fresh new hand is needed. These will give a huge amount of card advantage to all players, because that's what Magic players love most, right? To draw more cards? Well, enough of this lovey-dovey friendship nonsense. We're playing Nekusar, so let's get this pain train a-rolling. It's hunky-dory that opponents want to draw cards on our watch, but we need to make them pay for it. Underworld Dreams, Spiteful Visions, Fevered Visions, Consecrated Sphinx, Damnable Pact all make your opponent hurt for every card that they draw. If they want to cast that handful of spells, Painful Quandary will make them think twice. Psychosis Crawler will have them fear for you drawing cards, and if you can get Archmage Ascension online, you can tutor for any card you like whenever you would draw a card, so multiple card draws result in getting all the best cards that you need into your hand. Does your opponent fear you now that they don't want to play spells? They better not hold on to those cards for very long. Vizzling, Black Vise, and Price of Knowledge will hurt your opponent severely for a large hand size. If they have to discard those cards, they'll get burned for that too. Megrim and Liliana's Crest will deal 2 damage for each card discarded. You know what, let's make them discard them too. Bottomless Pit forces them to discard a card each turn. Don't forget our hand resets from previously. If you choose to play Nekusar, you're going to enjoy watching your opponents squirm as their cards get pushed into their hand and then discarded by your magic. The mana base for this deck is relatively simple. As this is a somewhat budget deck, you can of course add more fetches and shocks to the deck as you please, but this build will instead go a little bit lighter on the lands. We have a cycle of lands, including Barren Moor, Lonely Sandbar, and Forgotten Cave, which let us ditch them for a card draw. Our Ravnica Carouse allows some mana fixing, as do some pain lands. We also run Tainted Isle and Tainted Peak for some quick mana fixing, provided we have a swamp. Obviously you can upgrade to fetch lands, dual lands, yada yada, if you have them, but the goal of this deck was to keep it under $200. I hope you enjoyed this video. Remember to hit that like button if you enjoyed this commander deck tech. You have a commander that you'd like to see my build of? Leave a comment down below as a request, or hit me up on the Planeswalker Project Facebook page. The deck list will be in the description as always, as will a link to the Planeswalker Project Tapped Out account. You'll be able to buy the deck there for a click through to tcgplayer.com. And again, thank you for watching the Planeswalker Project.